right, and we are on the record for hearings in the matters listed in the North Dakota Industrial Commission hearing docket for April 21st, 2022. I am Stephen Nelson, hearing examiner for these hearings. We are at the hearing room for the Department of Mineral Resources, Oil and Gas Division, and it is 9:01 a.m. On the docket, the following matters will be continued or dismissed. Case number 29310 will be continued to May. Case number 29312 will be continued to May. Case number 29313 will be continued to May. Case number 29314 will be continued to May. Case number 29318 will be dismissed. Case number 29319 will be continued to May. Case number 29320 will be continued to May. Case number 29321 will be dismissed. Case number 29322 will be dismissed. Case number 29328 will be continued to May. Case number 29329 will be continued to May. And case number 29330 will be continued to May. The administrative docket starts on page 4 with case number 29320 and goes through case number 29330. Case number 29325 will be remanded. The remainder of these cases will be heard in the next room with Michael Zisch. Audio recordings of the cases on the administrative docket will be placed on the oil and gas website for the end of the week. If you wish to appear in one of the matters on the administrative docket, please appear in the next room. If there is opposition to the matter, it will be brought back into this hearing room to be heard, and your statements and evidence will be taken. We will begin with case number 29310. Application of Crescent Point Energy U.S. Corp. for an order amending the field rules for the Blue Ridge and/or Winter Bakken Pool, Williams County, ND, so as to create and establish 4 overlapping 1920-acre spacing units comprised of sections 29 and 32, Township 159 North, Range 100 West, and Section 5, Township 158 North, Range 100 West, Sections 30 and 31, Township 159 North, Range 100 West, and Section 6, Township 158 North, Range 100 West, Sections 7, 18, and 19, Township 158 North, Range 100 West, and Sections 8, 17, and 20, Township 158 North, Range 100 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 3 wells on each proposed overlapping 1920-acre spacing unit and or such further relief. This case is continued to May. Case number 29311. Application of Continental Resources, Inc. for an order amending the field rules for the Jim Creek Bakken Pool, Dunn County, North Dakota, so to create and establish 2 overlapping 3840-acre spacing units comprised of sections 28, 29, 32, and 33, Township 146 North, Range 96 West, and sections 4 and 5, Township 145 North, Range 96 West, and sections 29, 30, 31, and 32, Township 146 North, Range 96 West, and sections 5 and 6, Township 145 North, Range 96 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 2 horizontal wells on or near the section line between the existing spacing units of each proposed overlapping 3840-acre spacing unit, and such further relief as appropriate. Will all interested parties please come forward?
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in case 29311 on behalf of Continental Resources, Inc. Mr. Examiner, you indicated in your introduction that case 29326 is going to be remanded. That is the companion pooling for case 29311. I know there is a mineral owner here that has some questions. I don't know if those questions are more appropriately applied to 29311 or 29326. So I would request
325.
325. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if they apply to 29311 or 29325. So I would request that the cases be combined and consolidated. We can speed up the hearing process, and then we'll get the appropriate questions in the correct record.
Sure.
So,
Will there be any objection to combining the record? Okay. Then we will combine the hearing for case number 29311 and case number 29325. I'll just read the caption on 29325 as well.
Okay.
That is an application of Continental Resources, Inc. for an order pursuant to North Dakota Administrative Code Section 43020388.1, pooling all interests for wells drilled on the overlapping spacing unit described as sections 29, 30, 31, and 32, Township 146 North, Range 96 West, and sections 5 and 6, Township 145 North, Range 96 West, Jim Creek Bakken Pool, Dunn County, North Dakota, as provided by North Dakota Century Code Section 380808, but not reallocating production for wells producing on other spacing units and such other relief as is appropriate.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Examiner. I'll be appearing in that case as well, obviously. We have three witnesses we intend to call. The first witness is in the area of land, Mr. Scott Davis, and Mr. Davis will be appearing by telephone.
And is he on the line now?
Yes.
Mr. Davis, can you hear me? Mr. Davis?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Scott, state your name for the record, please.
Scott Davis,
And Scott, by whom are you employed?
Continental Resources, Inc.,
In what capacity?
Northern Region Landman.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
I have.
And have you had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
I have.
For the further testimony of this witness out of an expert.
The testimony will be received as that of an expert.
Scott, let's turn to the packet of exhibits that I've distributed to the commission staff for case 29311. And let's go to exhibit L1. And what I'd like you to do is identify exhibit L1 and then briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
Okay. L1 is our general locator map. The existing fields are outlined in blue, and one of the proposed 3840 acre spacing units is outlined in red and shaded in yellow, and the other proposed 3840 acre spacing unit is outlined in black and also shaded in yellow.
All right, then let's go to exhibit L2.
Exhibit L2 is a land plat of an existing 1920 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 29 and 32 of 146 North, 96 West, and section 5 of 145 North, 96 West, along with a working interest ownership summary for those sections.
And exhibit L3.
L3 is a land plat of an existing 1,280 acre spacing unit comprised of section 33 of 146 North, 96 West, and section 4 of 145 North, 96 West, along with a working interest ownership summary for those sections.
L4.
L4 is a land plat of section 28 of 146 North, 96 West, along with a working interest ownership summary for that section.
And then L5.
L5, this is actually a repeat of Exhibit L2. This is the land plat for that existing 1920 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 29 and 32 of 146 North, 96 West, and section 5 of 145 North, 96 West, along with that working interest ownership summary for those sections.
All right, and then L6.
L6 is a land plat of an existing 1,280 acre spacing unit comprised of section 31 of 146 North, 96 West, and section 6 of 145 North, 96 West, along with a working interest ownership summary for those two sections.
And then L7.
L7 is a land plat of section 30 of 146 North, 96 West, along with a working interest ownership summary for that section.
Okay, now let's talk about your 3840s. Go to exhibit L8.
Yes. Exhibit L8 is a land plat for the proposed 3840 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 28, 29, 32, and 33 of 146 North, 96 West, and sections 4 and 5 of 145 North, 96 West, along with a consolidated working interest summary for the proposed 3840 acre spacing unit.
And Continental Resources has AMI with Burlington Resources in this area, is that correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
And Burlington has agreed that Continental will be the operator of the proposed well on this 3840, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, then exhibit L9.
Exhibit L9 is a land plat for the proposed 3840 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 29, 30, 31, and 32 of 146 North, 96 West, and Sections 5 and 6 of 145 North, 96 West, along with a consolidated working interest summary for the proposed 3840 acre spacing unit.
And once again, Burlington Resources has agreed with Continental that Continental will be the operator. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
No further questions of this witness, and I believe that the mineral owner that's here may have some questions for this witness.
My name is Brian DeVernack, and I represent the DeVernack family, which controls these properties. We have 3 different leases on the ranch, 2 of which are today, and one of them is dated March of '09, which with a royalty rate of 17.5%, and the other one is in December of '12, which has a royalty rate of 20%. And the question that I have for the witness is, on any new wells that are drilled on this property, how are the royalty rates, how would they be dealt with on these 2 different leases?
I would have to go back and look at the leases in more detail to be exact. Is it the same party has 2 different leases?
Yeah, we control about 6,500 acres on the ranch, and there's 3 leases, and these 2 that we're talking about today, and it's an undivided interest within that 6,500 acres. And the question that I have is any new wells drilled on these 2 properties, on these 2 different proposed properties, how would the rates be affected?
As far as which royalty rate between the 17.5 or the 20%?
Yep.
To be honest, without looking in more detail at those leases to make sure which of the 2 is in effect, I don't know that I can give you a solid answer right now.
Mr. Examiner, may I suggest that I get Mr. DeVernack's business card after the meeting? I pass that along to Mr. Davis, and then perhaps Mr. Davis can call Mr. DeVernack, and maybe we can leave the record open for a week or 10 days so that if Mr. DeVernack is satisfied, we can let the commission know that he's been satisfied with the answer, and if he's not, we can deal with it from
Sure.
there. Does that sound all right?
That's fine.
Okay.
We'll wait till the end to
Yep.
leave the record open, but sure, that's agreeable to you.
That's the only question that I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner, for allowing us to head down that path.
And does commission staff have any questions for this witness? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to your next witness.
Next witness is Laila Harris.
Ms. Harris, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Laila, would you please state your name for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Laila Harris.
And Laila, by whom are you employed in what capacity?
Continental Resources as a senior operations geologist.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
Yes, I have.
And you've had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes.
Offer the further testimony, this witness that of an expert.
The testimony will be received as that of an expert.
Laila, let's go to the next exhibit in the packet. It's previously been marked as Exhibit G1. Can you tell us what G1 is, and then briefly discuss what's contained upon it?
Yes. G1 is our general locator map showing the requested spacing and pooling for up to 2 section line wells. It includes 50-foot contours of the upper Bakken structure, and highlighted with the red star is the type well, the DeVernack 41-29. The 2 spacing unit and pooling are outlined in the black outline with the highlighted in yellow and red highlighted in yellow.
Okay. And G2?
G2 is the type well, the DeVernack 41-29, and This shows the Bakken pool from the 50 foot of the lodge pole above the upper Bakken down through the Three Forks and 50 feet into the Bird Bear. At the bottom of the type log, we have the zones, the Middle Bakken and Three Forks flow zone units shown with their zone top base and gross thickness, the porosity, the water saturation, the permeability, the average, and multiplied by height.
Okay, and the next witness is going to discuss the target for the 4 wells that you're proposing, that being Middle Bakken or Three Forks. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions of this witness.
Are there any questions from commission staff? Seeing none, you can move on to your your third witness here.
Next witness is Mr. Abe Mclennan, or McKellen. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Abe, maybe you can help us out.
You're fine. It's McClellan.
Okay.
Mr. McClellan, do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Abe, would you state your full name for the record, please, and spell your last name?
Yes, sir. Abraham McClellan. Last name McClellan.
And Abe, by whom are you employed?
Continental Resources.
In what capacity?
Staff Resource Development Engineer.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
No, sir.
What I'd like you to do, Abe, is just briefly highlight for the hearing officer your educational background and work experience.
Yes, sir. I'm a graduate of Oklahoma State University in 2010 with a bachelor's in aerospace engineering and a bachelor's with mechanical engineering. After graduation, I was employed by Chesapeake Energy as a drilling engineer and was a responsible drilling engineer for assets in northwest Louisiana through East Texas, through central Texas, all the way through Oklahoma, from southern Oklahoma to northern Oklahoma, and into the Texas Panhandle. After leaving Chesapeake in 2014, I was employed by Lenormand Operating, which is a private equity company operating almost 1,400 wells in the greater Anadarko Basin in western Oklahoma, Texas Panhandle. I was the senior operations engineer for them for over 3.5 years, responsible for up to 2 or 3 drilling rigs as a drilling engineer, and 2 frac crews and 2 workover rigs in western Oklahoma. So we're responsible for completions, production, and workover. In 2018 of January, I joined Continental Resources as a drilling engineer and was promoted to lead drilling engineer, leading a team of up to 13 drilling rigs, engineers, and superintendents throughout Oklahoma for 2 years. Then in 2020, in February, I moved to the northern Bakken region and was the lead engineer for 2 years. January of 2022, I joined the Northern Resource Development group, and that's my education background and experience.
Okay. And in preparation for today's hearing, have you made a thorough study and review of all the relevant engineering matters concerning this request of Continental Resources?
Yes, sir.
And have you prepared or had prepared under your control and supervision some exhibits that you intend to sponsor?
Yes, sir.
I'd offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
The testimony will be received as that of an expert.
Thank you. Abe, let's go to the next exhibit in the packet, E1. And as the previous witnesses have done, what I'd like you to do is first identify the exhibit and then briefly discuss what's contained on the exhibit.
Yes, sir. Exhibit E1 is a directional well plot of the 3840 acre spacing unit comprised of section 29, 30, 31, 32 of Township 146 North and 96 West, with sections 5 and 6 of Township 145 North, 96 West. Outlined in black are the section lines of the 3840 acre spacing unit. The solid green lines are existing Middle Bakken wells, along with the solid pink lines are the existing Three Forks wells and horizontal, labeled with the 7-inch casing point, but also the surface hole locations of those wells. The dashed green line is the proposed section line for the Middle Bakken target, horizontal, and the section, or the dotted pink line is the Three Forks proposed section line well.
Okay. Let's go to E2.
E2 is another directional well plot of a 3840 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 28, 29, 32, 33 of Township 146 North, Range 96 West, with sections 4 and 5 of Township 145 North and 96 West. Along with this exhibit, similar to E1, outlined in solid black lines is the section lines. Existing Middle Bakken wells are shown in the solid green lines. Existing Three Forks wells are shown in the solid pink lines, along with their specific 7-inch casing points. And the surface hole locations shown in the red circles. The dashed green line is the proposed section line for the Middle Bakken target, along with the dashed pink line is the Three Forks 1 section line proposed target.
All right, then very briefly, let's turn to Exhibit E3 and very briefly discuss that exhibit, please.
E3 is the Middle Bakken wellbore schematic and diagram showing 9 5/8 surface casing set approximately at 2,300 feet and 7-inch casing set at approximately 11,000 feet within our setbacks of the units, and the lateral TD at 26,000 feet approximately.
All right, and E4?
E4 is the wellbore schematic of a Three Forks well, outlining the 9 5/8 surface casing set depth at 9,300 feet, along with 7-inch casing set depth at 11,100 feet approximately, with a lateral TD at approximately 26,000 feet measured depth.
Okay, and then let's go to E5.
E5 is the reserves and economics exhibit, outlining for the Middle Bakken Reservoir with an initial rate at 1,500 barrels per day, with an EUR oil of 654 MBO and a total EUR of 963 MBOE, with a GUR of approximately 2,478 standard cubic feet per barrel. The economics below are shown at a flat oil and gas price at $60 for oil, $3 for gas. Estimated CapEx cost will be $9.2 million. Working interest for Continental is 100%, with a net present value discounted for 10% at $9.1 million. Rate of return is at 74%, and undiscounted payout will be 1.5 years. Below the economics table is the reservoir parameters outlined by Ms. Laila Harris previously.
Okay, and then E6.
E6 is the reserves and economics exhibit outlining the Three Forks Reservoir with initial rate of 1,300 barrels per day, with an oil EUR of 571 MBO and a total EUR of 800 MBOE, with an EUR of GUR of approximately 2,406 standard cubic feet per barrel. The economics were evaluated the same as Exhibit E5 with a flat oil and gas price at $60 for oil, $3 for gas, and then approximately CapEx of $9.2 million. Working interest for Continental is 100%, with a net present value discounted 10% is $6.8 million. Rate of return at 56%, with an undiscounted payout of 1.8 years. The reservoir parameters outlined below were briefly discussed by Ms. Laila Harris also.
Okay, just a clarification, Abe. In both Exhibit E5 and E6, you said something to the effect that the working interest of Continental was 100%. You've just done all of your calculations on 100% working interest. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then on Exhibit, if you can turn to Exhibit GM1, is that a affidavit relative to gas capture that the commission typically requires in these sorts of hearings?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Examiner, I don't have any further questions of this witness. We would offer the exhibits.
The exhibits are admitted.
And also with respect to the companion case, and help me out with the number here. What was it again?
29325.
Yeah, 29325. The commission should be in receipt of an affidavit that should allow the commission to enter an order in that case. Obviously, it will be contingent upon the commission granting the application here. And also, we would request that the record remain open an additional 10 days so that Mr. Davis can have a conversation with Mr. Dvorak and see if we can't get his questions answered. And then I'll supply the commission with a letter indicating that that's been resolved, and I'll certainly copy Brian.
Sure. And so for 10 days, well, I suppose that
Yeah,
would
I'm sorry, I
put us
should
into the
have given you a
weekend there.
date.
That's okay. Maybe that next following Monday would be April 25th, or no, I'm off by a week. We're at the
May
20
2nd?
That would be May 2nd, yeah.
Yeah,
May
that
2nd,
works.
Sorry. Okay. Are there any questions from commission staff for this witness?
Abe, on your exhibit E1 and E2, how far off the section line are those laterals to be located?
Those are to be located approximately 200 feet from the lease line.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Bruce Hicks. I noticed that on your stages that you plan to have 65 stages in the Middle Bakken and only 45 in the Three Forks. Is this typical of your development of the two zones now?
Exhibit E4 should be reflecting, sorry, that is a typo. That should be reflecting the same as 65 plug per stages in which Bakken.
Okay. And what's your timing on these? When will the wells be drilled?
I'll have to double check right now on the current schedule. I'm not certain 100% right now, but they are coming up this year.
Okay, and do you plan to batch drill them with other development wells on the base spacing units? Or on 1920s?
Yes, they will be drilled all together and batch drilled and developed simultaneously.
Okay, I don't need any follow-up on that, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions from commission staff? And, okay, was there anything further in this matter?
Nothing further from the applicant.
Well, thank you.
Yep. See you, Brian.
That will conclude the hearing for cases number 29311 and case number 29325. Moving on. Case number 29312, application of Hunt Oil Co. for an order amending the field rules for the Rossbakken Pool, Montreal County, North Dakota, to create and establish an overlapping 1280-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 8 and 17, Township 156 North, Range 90 West, authorizing the drilling, completing, and producing of a total not to exceed 7 wells on said proposed overlapping 1280-acre spacing unit and such other relief as appropriate. This case is continued to May. Case number 29313, application of WPX Energy Williston LLC for an order amending the field rules for the Hart Butte and or Deep Water Creek, Baybock and Pool, Dunn and McLean Counties, ND, so as to create and establish the following: an overlapping 1280-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 9 and 16, Township 149 North, Range 91 West, authorizing the drilling of a horizontal well on or near the section line between existing spacing units on said proposed overlapping 1280-acre spacing unit, and 2 overlapping 3840-acre spacing units comprised of sections 9, 10, 15, 16, 21, and 22, Township 149 North, Range 92 West, and sections 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, and 11, Township 149 North, Range 91 West, authorizing the drilling of a horizontal well on or near the section line between existing spacing units on each proposed overlapping 3840-acre spacing unit and or such other and further relief as appropriate. This case is continued to May. Case number 29314, application of WPX Energy Williston LLC for an order extending the field boundaries and amending the field rules for the Hart Butte and or Twin Butte Spock Pool so as to create and establish a 1920-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 1 and 2, Township 147 North, Range 92 West, and Section 6, Township 147 North, Range 91 West, Dunn County, North Dakota, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 8 wells, said spacing unit, and such additional relief as the Commission deems appropriate. This case is continued to May. Case number 29315, application of Residence Exploration North Dakota LLC for an order extending the field boundaries and amending the field rules for the West Roth Madison Pool, Bottineau County, North Dakota, to create and establish a 720-acre spacing unit comprised of the east half of the west half of Section 36, Township 163 North, Range 79 West, and the northeast quarter of the east half of the northwest quarter of Section 1, Township 162 North, Range 79 West, authorizing the drilling of a multilateral horizontal well not less than 330 feet to the boundary of such spacing unit and such other relief as is appropriate. Will all interested parties please come forward?
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota. And I'm appearing in case 29315 on behalf of Residence Exploration North Dakota, LLC. We intend to call 3 witnesses in this matter. Our first witness will be in the area of land, Ms. Margaret Davidson. Our second witness will be a geologic witness, Mr. Kyle Peterson. And then our third witness will be an engineering witness, Don Gallant, Gallant. And all 3 witnesses will appear by telephone.
All right, Ms. Davidson, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good morning.
Good morning. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Margaret, would you state your name for the record, please?
Margaret Davidson,
And Margaret, by whom are you employed?
Residence Exploration.
And in that capacity, well, excuse me, in what capacity are you employed?
I'm a consulting landman. I negotiate mineral rights for them.
Okay. And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
Yes, I have.
And you've had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes, I did.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
The testimony will be received as that of an expert.
Thank you. Margaret, let's turn to, I assume you have a packet of exhibits in front of you for case 29315?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I've distributed that to the commission staff, so what I would like you to do is let's turn to the Exhibit 1 in that packet and briefly describe for us what Exhibit 1 is.
Okay. Exhibit 1 is a location map with the area of our focus expanded, outlined in red. Our proposed spacing for the well is outlined in green and the smaller portion in the middle. It is a location in Bottineau County, east of Landa.
All right, then let's go to Exhibit 2. Tell us what Exhibit 2 is.
Exhibit 2 is a more defined map of the proposed spacing outlined in green
We have leased 680 acres of the 720 acre spacing, which gives us a 94.4% working interest. The remaining interest is unleased.
That's all the questions I have for this witness.
Are there any questions from commission staff? Seeing none? Mr. Peterson, you on the line.
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Kyle, would you state your name for the record, please?
Kyle Peterson,
And Kyle, by whom are you employed?
Resonance Exploration, North Dakota.
In what capacity?
I am a full-time consulting geologist.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
I have not.
Kyle, what I'd like you to do is briefly discuss for us your educational background and work experience.
Sure. So I got a bachelor's degree in geology from Minot State University. I also have a master's degree in geology from the University of North Dakota. And I've been working as a full-time consulting geologist for residents here for the last 3 years.
And in preparation for today's hearings, have you made a thorough study and review of all the relevant geologic matters concerning residents' requests in these three cases?
Yes, I have.
And have you prepared or have prepared under your control and supervision some exhibits you intend to sponsor?
Yep.
I'd offer the further testimony of this witness as that of an expert.
The testimony will be received as that of an expert.
Thank you. Kyle, let's go to the first geologic exhibit, exhibit number 3. And what I'd like you to do is first identify the exhibit and then briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
Sure. So Exhibit 3 is a structure contour map on top of the Midale porosity. The existing West Roth Madison Pool extent is outlined in orange, and the proposed 720 acre spacing unit is outlined here in green, with the red dashed line inside of that marking the 330-foot setback boundary. The proposed horizontal well paths of the multi-leg lateral that we're proposing are shown by the solid red lines within the proposed spacing unit here. Cross-section A to A prime is also shown, and that will be discussed in a following exhibit. So you can see here that the Midale porosity doesn't show a great deal of relief based on the well control in this area, which is pretty limited. Actually, the Midale pool is better shown by an isopac map of the Midale porosity, which will be in the following exhibit.
Before we go on to the next exhibit, Kyle, you have two proposed locations here, your surface location and then two laterals. Those are tentative at this point in time, is that correct?
Are you referring to the two laterals within the proposed spacing unit?
Yeah, that you plan on drilling.
Yes, those are what we are proposing at this point.
Yeah, and you're gonna.
They haven't been.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, those are basically just drawn in as plans.
Okay, and you're going to get into this in a little bit more detail in the next exhibit, but based on your drilling activities, those could change if your interpretation of the net pay and the porosity changes. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Like I said, they're just plans at this point, and our interpretation is based on 3D seismic, and that's highly interpretive. And we will be doing a bit of exploring while we're drilling this as well.
Okay, great. Let's go to the next exhibit, then Exhibit 4. Tell us what Exhibit 4 is.
So as I talked about earlier, this is an isopac map of the Midale porosity. Once again, it shows the current field extent, the proposed 720 acre spacing units, the well paths, and the line of cross section. And So here, the MIDAL we interpret it that is interpreted to exist because it was deposited in a collapse feature, allowing for more accommodation space and a thicker section moving towards the center of the feature. So as this MIDAL gets thicker, we're interpreting our net pay to increase. And in the following exhibit, I'll show a net pay map, and that is based primarily on this ISOPAC map.
And I think you testified a few moments ago that this interpretation that's contained on Exhibit 4 is based on your seismic. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, let's go to Exhibit 5. Tell us what Exhibit 5 is.
Yeah, so as I just discussed in the previous exhibit, Exhibit 5 is a net pay map of the MIDAL porosity. Here we're showing 5-foot contour intervals. The individual well values for the net pay are labeled in red. And actually, if we start at the north there where we see the line of cross-section showing A, the values are 0, and then moving south to 12, 12, 0, and 6. So the 0 values are actually representing the pinch out of the MIDAL porosity. The 2 wells with the values of 12 are MIDAL oil wells. So, as I discussed in the previous exhibit, this is a pretty conservative estimate of net pay. And the 0 line corresponds to, a pretty highly interpretive edge of the MIDAL porosity reservoir.
And you've kind of touched on this, but let me follow it up with a question. Both your interpretation of porosity and your interpretation or your ISOPAC map, you show both laterals extending beyond the porosity and the pay. Can you explain why you would do that?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like I've touched on already, this is, it's based on 3D seismic, and it's very, very highly interpretive. And, it is very possible that the edges of the MIDAL porosity could go down further to the south. And so we just want to basically take those legs or get them permitted and planned down to the 330-foot setback. So, in that case, we could be in a position to identify the southern edge of the MIDAL porosity there, and we would just continue to keep drilling until we ran out of pay.
Ran out of pay or got to the 330 setback, is that right?
That's right, yes, whichever comes first.
And is that also the case with respect to your eastern lateral? If during your drilling operation you get a different interpretation of the porosity and the pay, would you change the direction or slightly change the direction to go further to the east?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, as we have them positioned, we feel like we can maintain a good separation between the 2 legs, while still having 2 legs in this pool, and we can also steer the bit a bit more towards the east to kind of explore the eastern edge of that pool.
And
once we get that, I'm sorry.
No, you finish. I apologize.
Once again, like I said, we're basing this on 3D seismic, and that eastern edge could very well go further to the east. This is a very conservative net pay map as far as size.
Okay, let's go to the next exhibit, Exhibit 6. Tell us what that is.
Exhibit 6 is a type section well for the MIDAL porosity target interval in this West Roth area. This is the Clifford Rosfat 1. So we are showing the Mississippian unconformity there in black, and then the top of the MIDAL porosity, which is the top of the target interval, is in blue, and the base of the target interval of the MIDAL porosity shown here by the Mission Canyon in green. Also, if you look on the right side of the log, the existing West Roth Madison stratigraphic interval is noted, and that is from the base of the Spearfish Formation to the top of the Devonian formations.
All right, and Exhibit 7.
Exhibit 7 shows the cross-section from A to A prime that was discussed in a few of the previous exhibits. This cross-section is hung structurally on sea level. So the unconformity is shown in black. The top of the Midale porosity, where it's present, is shown in blue. And then the base of the Midale porosity or the Mission Canyon, where it is both present and logged, is shown in green.
And the scale of this cross-section is rather small. If the commission were to desire a PDF that they could manipulate and make it larger, would you have any objection to providing that to me so that I could supply to the commission?
Yes, we can most definitely make that bigger. I just tried to shrink it down to fit onto a normal size page here, I guess.
Sure. No further questions of this witness.
Are there any questions from commission staff?
I'll start with, please do supply the PDF of the cross-section.
I didn't mean to take a question away from you.
Well, if you would have said you will submit it, I wouldn't have said a word.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, it'll help. As is, it's once it's scanned into the case file, it's impossible to read, so.
Sounds good.
Yeah, for sure.
Kyle, the existing well, immediately to the west of what you're proposing here, what's the target of that well?
That was the Wayne formation.
Okay, so that is,
So it would be.
go ahead.
Oh, yeah, that's basically the next porosity bench down from the Midale porosity.
Yep. Okay, and then when you were discussing E3, or no, sorry, wrong exhibit, E4, E5, you indicated some thickness values for some existing vertical wells. Those two vertical wells with a value of 12 on them, were those both produced in this pay?
Yeah, so both of those wells were Midale producers. Together, I believe they've produced 61,000 barrels of oil.
Okay. Do you have any concerns about the depletion that they will cause problems during the drilling of the horizontal laterals that you're, and specifically the westernmost lateral that you're proposing here?
We don't think so. I think the pay gets thicker as we go over to the east is what we're interpreting there. And I mean, as it stands, and as we have this mapped out, such a small percentage of the primary reserves have been taken out that I think that we should still be good to go.
Okay. And it looks like you're planning to drill kind of on either side of the top of the structure. Is there any reason you wouldn't just shoot for a lateral down the middle of what you're seeing? Or is it?
Yeah, so, kind of as we were talking about before, we kind of want to, we want to get two legs in there just to optimize the drainage. And so to get two legs and keep them spaced, we think that with those two legs we would be able to drain the whole field. And also, if that field does extend further to the east, then we would be we'd be better positioned with that eastern leg being further to the east to drain the remaining portion of that field.
And at this point, you would intend to drill both legs regardless of, I guess, which leg would you drill first?
We would drill the easternmost leg first.
And would you definitively be drilling the second leg regardless of what you observed during the drilling of the first leg?
Yes. Yeah, just to basically just to solidify the edges of that pool and where that pool is.
Okay. And then how do you plan to complete the well?
They'll be open hole completed.
Open hole, acidize it, or
No, just open hole.
just open hole completion and start pumping?
Yeah, no stimulation at all.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Kyle, this is Bruce Hicks. Looking at your exhibit number 3, to the west, we talked about that well, the tiling 1236H well. That well came on in July of last year and has produced a little over 9,000 barrels of oil. You have 2 other legs coming out of that well that are, they've got red boxes on them. Are those just the proposed laterals that you originally were requesting?
Yeah, so the legs with the red dashes are what we had planned, and we didn't end up drilling those last year, but we're going to be drilling those this year. We have a rig lined up for July, and we will be adding those legs this year.
Okay, and do you plan to have an open hole sidetrack out of the original wellbore then?
Yes.
Why weren't they drilled originally?
So when we were drilling the first leg, it came in structurally lower than we had anticipated, and as we were drilling it, we really thought we were going to have a very high water cut uneconomic well. So we decided to not drill those additional legs. But we were pretty pleasantly surprised actually when we put that well on production. With the performance of that well, and so now we're going to be going back and drilling those legs this year.
Okay, that is a pretty high water cut well, isn't it? Over 75% water?
Yeah, it came on at right around that 60%. But it's actually stabilized in that set or 80 to 90. But the oil rate is we're still looking at 30 to 40 barrels a day. So it's that oil rate is still doing pretty good.
And is that totally drilled in the Wayne?
Yes.
The two.
Yep, ICP is set in the Wayne, and that whole first leg is in the Wayne.
So the 2 additional laterals you plan to drill, those will also be in the Wayne? Is that right?
That's correct. Yep.
The reason I ask about this well is because the spacing unit for it actually contains a portion of the spacing unit that you're requesting on, in this case. The entire west half of 36 is within the spacing unit of that 1236H well that we're talking about. And originally, it was kind of hard to understand how you would protect correlative rights, since the Madison zone, the Madison pool is described and defined as from the base of the Spearfish Formation to above the top of the Tilston. So the Wayne, Midale, all that would be included in the same pool. And now what you're trying to do is create another spacing unit within the pool, separate, from the original spacing unit. So now you're proposing an overlapping one. You also say that you're going to drill 2 laterals, although the first one that you drilled only had 1 lateral and you had proposed 3. So how certain are you that you're going to drill both of these laterals?
Yeah, we're 100% certain we're going to drill both of these laterals.
Okay, and what's the timing on when is the well going to be drilled?
Looking to start about the middle of July. We have a contract signed with the drilling company, and we'll be getting permitted and geared up and ready to go for the middle of July here.
And will you utilize that same drilling rig to re-enter the 1236H and drill the 2 additional laterals there?
Yes, we will. That will actually be the first well that we drill. And in addition to the 2 existing laterals, we are going to be extending that first lateral. So we'll be re-entering that first lateral, and we're going to extend that out to the setback boundary.
Okay, and what's that symbol at the end of the lateral? I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure what that symbol is. It's something that came about from our mapping software, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Looks like a cattle brand, doesn't it?
Does anybody recognize that brand? Or
Are there any further questions from commission staff? Seeing none. Mr. Gallant. There's your next
Gallant.
one. Gallant, sorry. Can you hear me?
yes, can you?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Don, state your name for the record, please.
Yes, Don Gallant,
And Don, by whom are you employed?
Resonance Exploration,
In what capacity?
as engineering manager.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
Yes, I have.
Had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
The testimony will be received as that of an expert.
Don, let's go to Exhibit 8 in the packet. Can you briefly discuss what's contained on Exhibit 8?
On Exhibit 8, the Westwath Mydale Reservoir Properties. Basically, lithologies, limestone, dolostone, initial reservoir pressure 1,842 psi, oil gravity 35.9 API, gas-oil ratio 502 standard cubic feet per barrel. Original oil in place calculated at 2,048,955 barrels. Average porosity 17%. Net pay 15 feet. Water saturation 40%. And oil volume factor of 1.1. Reservoir temperature 108 degrees Fahrenheit. Resistivity of the formation water 0.063 ohm meters.
Okay, and Exhibit 9?
Exhibit 9 is the economics that were run for this project. And on the top here, the original oil in place of the pool, 2,048,955 barrels. Primary recovery factor for the pool, conservatively estimated at 10%. The completed well costs, $1,683,000. Initial production, first month production, 130 barrels a day. Estimated ultimate recovery for the 10 of 36 well itself, 137,300 barrels. And working interest, 94.44%. Royalty and override, 16.25%. The oil price we used, fairly conservative at this point in time, $70 a barrel for a long term. So the economics, we came up with net sales of $9,078,100. Production extraction tax of $760,300. Operating cost $2,251,900. And net income of $4,459,200. Net investment $1,597,300. So our return on investment calculated before tax of 45%.
Don, in your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
Mr. Examiner, no further questions. We'd offer the exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Are there any
And,
questions?
I'm sorry, one more thing. Could we leave the record open until May 2nd to submit the additional exhibit in a format that can be enlarged?
Sure. The record will remain open until May 2nd. And are there any questions from commission staff? Seeing none. Anything further, Mr. Bender?
Nothing further.
That will conclude the hearing in case number, I lost my page here. Case number 29315. Case number 29316, application of Residence Exploration North Dakota LLC for an order extending the field boundaries and amending the field rules for the Southwest Hope Spearfish / Charles Pool, Bottineau County, North Dakota, to create and establish a 640-acre spacing unit comprised of the sections 26, Township 162 North, Range 80 West, authorizing the drilling of a multilateral horizontal well not less than 330 feet to the boundary of such spacing unit and such other relief as is appropriate. Will all interested parties please come forward?
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this matter, case 29316, on behalf of residents. And we're going to have this Residence Exploration North Dakota LLC, and we're going to have the same three witnesses in this case as we had in the previous case.
All right. So first up, we have Ms. Davidson. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Margaret, let's turn to Exhibit 1. Can you do as you did in the previous case, just briefly describe what's contained on Exhibit 1?
Okay. The Exhibit 1 is very similar to the first one. It is a location map enlarged in the area outlined in red. The section 26 is outlined in green, where the spacing that we're applying for. It's in Bottineau County in the Southwest Hope area, southeast of Sturgis.
Okay, and Exhibit 2?
This is a more defined map of the proposed spacing, outlined in green. Residence has at least 560 acres of the 640 proposed acres.
No further questions.
Are there any questions from commission staff? Seeing none, Mr. Peterson? Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Kyle, let's go to Exhibit 3. Identify Exhibit 3 and then briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
Sure. Exhibit 3 is a structure contour map on the basal spearfish. So outlined in orange, we have the Southwest Hope Spearfish Charles Pool extent as per the current rules. And then outlined in green is the proposed 640-acre spacing unit with the green dash line showing the 330-foot setback boundary. The proposed three-leg lateral well is shown in black. And the oil water contact of minus 1932 feet subsea is shown in blue.
Okay, and Exhibit 4.
Exhibit 4 is a net pay map of the basal spearfish. So the wells are labeled with the net pay values in red, and also cross-section A to A prime is shown here. And this net pay map is drawn kind of for the area of the whole Southwest Hope Spearfish Charles Pool. Our OOIP calculations and the area that we're interested in will only focus on Section 26 in that proposed 640-acre spacing.
Okay, Exhibit 5.
Exhibit 5 is a type section of the basal spearfish, our horizontal target. This is the LB Williams number 1. The top and bottom of the target interval, which we have defined here as the Newberg sand, is shown with the blue dotted lines. And within that target interval, we have the oil water contact of minus 1932 subsea shown in red there. And then the existing Southwest Hope Spearfish Charles stratigraphic interval is shown on the right side of the log. And that is from the top of the Spearfish Formation to the base of the Minot porosity.
All right, and Exhibit 6.
Exhibit 6 is cross-section A to A prime that was shown on the structure map and the net pay map. This cross-section is hung structurally on the oil water contact, shown here in red at minus 1932. One thing to note is the blue dotted line, once again, are identifying our main target zone of that Newberg sand.
And Kyle, can you supply me with electronic versions of Exhibit 5 and Exhibit 6 so that I can submit those to the commission as supplemental exhibits?
Yes, will do.
No further questions of this witness.
Any questions for commission staff?
Kyle, I'm gonna start with that existing lateral that was drilled, just to the northwest of what you're proposing here.
Yeah.
Is that also targeting the basal spearfish?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And is it a similar situation as in the last case, the red box portion of lateral that you have depicted on Exhibit 4 here? That portion of lateral, has that been drilled?
No, that has not been true. Just like you said, that. Oh, I'm getting a really bad echo. Oh, hang on. I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I'm getting a really bad echo here. I'll have to get through it. So basically, it's the same thing happened. We were drilling that first lateral, and we came in structurally lower than we thought we were going to. We expected we were going to have a high water cut on economic well, so we decided not to drill that leg. And, same thing, we were pleasantly surprised. We put that on production. It did come in over 50%, but it's hanging right in there at 60 to 65% water cut, and, over 30 barrels of oil a day oil rate. So we will be drilling that second leg, in probably the end of July. This will be the second location that we come to.
So you would intend to drill that second lateral and then pop over to this one and drill this set of laterals that you're proposing in this spacing unit?
Well, we would drill from that first hearing over in the West Rock. We would drill the existing lateral, or the undrilled laterals from last year. We would drill those, and then since we'd be so close over there, we would drill the new drill in the Midale in West Rock, and then we would be coming over here to drill the undrilled leg in that Wilmot lateral.
Okay. The primary vertical production out of the remainder of Southwest Hope, is that out of the basal spearfish also?
I guess I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
So the historic vertical production in the Southwest Hope field.
Yes, that's all out of it.
That's all out of essentially the basal spearfish that you're targeting with your horizontal lateral here.
That's right.
Okay. And looking at your E5, when you were discussing that, you indicated that the red line on there, that's your anticipated oil water contact in the target interval, correct?
Yes.
And I'm assuming you'll be placing your horizontal lateral just above that.
Yeah, so we want to be above that and still be within that Newberg sand target interval.
What does that leave you for a roughly target thickness?
And that's essentially how the net pay map was drawn. So, essentially what we're given net pay is the amount of that Newberg sand that is above the oil water contact. So, we'd be looking at an average of, probably 8 to 10 feet.
Okay. And here again, you would intend to drill all three of the proposed lateral or proposed legs at one point, or would you potentially just drill one leg at a time?
No, we would be drilling all three legs this year.
Okay, thank you.
Were there any further questions from commission staff? Seeing none, we have Mr. Gallant. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Going to Exhibit 7, can you briefly highlight what's contained on Exhibit 7?
Yeah, this is a Southwest Hope Spearfish Reservoir data, lithology, sandstone, siltstone, initial reservoir pressure 1668 psi, oil gravity is 34.3 API, GOR roughly 83 standard cubic feet per barrel. The original well in place for section 26 only is 4,880,877 barrels. Average porosity 18%, net pay 8 feet, oil volume factor 1.1, resistivity 0.063 millimeters, water cut 35%, and reservoir temperature of 110 degrees Fahrenheit.
And Exhibit 8.
Exhibit 8, economics for this project. Again, the estimated oil in place, 4,880,877 barrels. Primary recovery factor of 15%. The completed well cost, $1,798,000. Initial production, first month, 190 barrels a day. The EUR for section 26 only, 437,500 barrels. Working interest, 87.5%, royalty burden and overrides, 14.76. And oil price similar is $78 a barrel. Net sales, 26,794,100. Production and extraction tax, 2,285,300. The operating costs, 5,100,700. Net income, 15,466,700. Net investment, 1,563,500. For a return on investment of 268%.
Don, in your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
No further questions. Offer the exhibits and request that the record remain open until May 2nd, 2022 to allow the submission of the additional exhibits in PDF format.
The exhibits are admitted, and the record will remain open until May 2nd, 2022. Are there any further questions from commission staff?
Just one more question, either for Don or actually Kyle maybe, but the laterals that you intend to drill, how do you intend to complete those?
Open hole completion.
Okay, any stimulations?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Can you tell us what rig you've contracted?
Iron hand number 8. 108. Sorry, 108.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions from staff? Seeing none, anything further, Mr. Bender?
Nothing further. Thank you, Mr. Examiner.
And that will conclude the hearing for case number 29316. Case number 29317, application of Residence Exploration North Dakota LLC for an order extending the field boundaries and amending the field rules for the Southwest Hope Spearfish / Charles Pool, Bottineau County, ND, to create and establish a 640-acre spacing unit comprised of the south half of the southwest quarter of Section 1 and south half of the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter of the south half of Section 12, Township 162 North, Range 80 West, authorizing the drilling of a multilateral horizontal well not less than 330 feet to the boundary of such spacing unit and such other relief as is appropriate. Will all interested parties please come forward?
Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, appearing in this matter, case number 29317 on behalf of Residence Exploration North Dakota LLC. We'll have the same 3 witnesses in this case as we had in the previous 2 cases.
Ms. Davidson, do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Margaret, Exhibit 1.
This is a location map of our area of interest. It's enlarged in the area outlined in red. The green space is the proposed spacing. It is located in Butler County, southeast of West Hope.
And Exhibit 2.
This page is a clearer picture of the proposed spacing, which is outlined in green. Residents have leased 407 acres out of the 640 acres, which gives us 63.59% working interest. The remaining area is unleased. Sorry, the remaining acreage is unleased.
No further questions.
Any questions from commission staff? Seeing none? Mr. Peterson, do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Kyle, let's go to Exhibit 3. Can you identify Exhibit 3 and briefly discuss what's contained upon it?
Yep. Exhibit 3 is a structure contour map, and this is on the Midale porosity. Outlined in orange is the Southwest Hope Spearfish Charles pool extent as per the current field rules. And then outlined in green is the proposed 640-acre spacing unit with the green dashed line showing a 330-foot setback boundary. The proposed two-leg lateral is shown here in red, also with the intermediate casing point shown with the red arrow, which is shown to be up dip actually from our interpreted oil water contact, which we have drawn in blue here at minus 1905 sub C.
Okay, Exhibit 4.
Exhibit 4 is a net pay map of the Midale porosity. The labels on the wells here are of the net pay values, and also showing cross-section A to A prime running through the proposed spacing unit.
Okay, let's go to that cross-section, Exhibit 5.
Lawrence, turn your mic on.
I'm sorry.
Your mic's not on.
Sorry. Let's go to Exhibit 5, Kyle.
Okay, Exhibit 5 is a type section of the Midale porosity. This is shown in the Overid 1-11 well. So the top of the target interval, which is the Midale porosity, is shown in blue here. And the base of the target interval, which is the Mission Canyon, is shown in green. The existing Southwest Hope Spearfish Charles stratigraphic interval is shown to be from the top of the Spearfish Formation to the base of the Midale porosity.
And Exhibit 6.
Exhibit 6 shows the cross-section from A to A prime over the proposed spacing unit. This is the cross-section that was outlined in the previous exhibits. This cross-section is hung structurally on the oil-water contact, which we have interpreted to be at minus 1905 sub C, and that is shown by the solid red line. The target interval of the Midale porosity is shown here in blue, and the base of the Midale porosity, or the Mission Canyon, is shown in green.
Okay. No further questions.
Are there any questions from commission staff?
Kyle, the Midale porosity that you're identifying here, was this also identified via 3D seismic interpretation?
We don't have any 3D seismic here. We do have a couple of 2D lines, and that has helped to guide our interpretation.
Okay. We're on the opposite side of the structure from the proposal in the previous case. And here we're talking the Midale versus basal spearfish. Can you provide some explanation as far as why we're talking, or why we've got Midale as a target here?
Yeah, so if you look on exhibit number 3, so I have basically the oil water contact marking the edge of the pool, and then just to the north, I guess to the northeast of that, you can see how there's an interpreted low coming through there. So we think that is providing an up-dip trap for the Midale porosity in this area. And it's basically separating it. You can see there are some some lateral wells just to the north those are some of our wells, the Ladone North and South well. So that is another structural high on the Midale porosity. With this interpreted low running between there, we think that is providing an updip trap for this pool.
Okay. And what happens to the basal spearfish in this area?
Yeah, it's mostly just eroded and tight in this area.
So instead of a basal spearfish trap, you end up with the Midale trap.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, and I guess some of the similar questions, you intend to drill both horizontal legs at the same time at this point?
Yeah, that's right.
And you pointed out your casing point was in was actually in the southwest of section 1. How confident are you in your contouring there that oil water contact bubbles out the way you're depicting it here in the southwest of 1? Is it possible?
Yeah, we're pretty confident.
Go ahead.
Yes, so there is a north-south seismic line running basically right along the north-south portion of that western leg. And we also have, 3D. We have 3D seismic in section 1 as well that we shot over the Surges field, which is in section. Like you can see the South Ladone legs there in sections 1 and 6.
So you have some 3D seismic to the north, and you have a 2D seismic line essentially along the western, or the north-south portion of the lateral being proposed here?
That's right, yeah. Yeah, we're basically going to be landing, setting ICP almost right on that seismic line, so we're pretty confident on that.
Okay, thank you. Oh, again, completions. How do you plan to complete the wells?
Yeah, these will be open hole unstipulated.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Kyle, it looks like your pay extends over into sections 2 and 11, and there are one producing well in section 2 and 2 producing wells in section 11. Are those both out of the Midale porosity as well?
Yes, they are.
And have you looked at the plugged and abandoned wells in there? Were they also Midale porosity?
Yes.
Thank you. I guess one more thing, I apologize if it was already captured earlier, but digital copies of, you plan to submit digital copies of 5 and 6, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yep.
Kyle, the spacing units that you're requesting are somewhat concerning. Typically, the commission would see 320 acre spacing, 640 acre spacing, and what you're doing is you're requesting precise spacing units, and admittedly, you indicated that it's highly interpretive how you're creating them or identifying them. So how certain are you that your oil water contact isn't farther south in section 1? I mean, it seems to me that, we're carving out spacing units and predetermining who's going to share in reservoir on these wells, although we're not exactly sure where the reservoir is. So I'm just wondering if that's the right thing to do to create precise spacing units.
So, would you propose that we do it differently then?
Well, I'm asking you to justify it, I guess. Typically in the past, we haven't seen this type of of spacing units identified, and, you know, certainly we can, you know, utilize some of the tools that you have, like 3D and 2D, but they're not certain either. So we just want to make sure that we're creating spacing units or approving spacing units that are protective of correlative rights.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Just I see what you're saying. This is, you know, basically the best interpretation that we have. But yeah, I mean, as with anything, you know, in geology, there is obviously there's always some room for error and some room for interpretation there. You know, it's never spot on.
And, you know, basically that's why the commission had in the past granted, you know, 640s and 320s. The previous spearfish play that we have in Bottineau County, I believe most of those are all 320s. And we didn't carve out certain areas that we believe were less desirable.
And, you know, I might just add, Mr. Hicks, I mean, this is the best interpretation we have. And, for example, with respect to this case, if we'd have come in with this interpretation and asked for a 640-acre spacing unit comprised of Section 12, I suspect we'd have gotten some pushback and say, why are you bringing in the north half of the northeast quarter? Because you aren't showing any reservoir under there. So I'm not really sure what the commission wants. If the commission wants less of an interpretation so that we can justify more standard spacing, that's certainly something we can do. But when we do seismic, 3D seismic, and we come up with an interpretation, I guess we feel an obligation to present that to the commission and request the spacing that we believe best protects correlative rights, and that's what we're asking for. But if that's not the direction the commission wants to go, certainly the future applications will show a lot less information and stick with more standard spacing.
But with the previous spacing units that were allowed by the commission and how, you know, the wells were not drilled as proposed, that puts a little more uncertainty in whether or not we should be defining these as precisely as requested. But it's more food for thought out there in the future if you're uncertain. You know, I kind of think about some of the lodgepole features that we identified very precisely with 3D, none of which I think were productive and recently.
Okay, recently, yeah.
So I just don't want to get painted into a corner where we have all these different configurations and then now we try to start overlapping these again because it was wrong on first interpretation. So,
Understood.
thank you.
So, yeah, thank you.
Are there any further questions from commission staff?
With some of the discussion that was just had, would you be able to provide either exhibit E3 or E4, an overlay where you've got your seismic lines and where you've got 3D seismic, just to aid in?
Yeah, we'd rather not, as it's kind of proprietary. The 3D especially is proprietary data. We would rather not show that.
Even the outline of it?
Yeah.
Oh, just the outline
Yeah.
of where it's at?
Yeah, I'm just asking
yeah.
for where the outline and where the 2D lines are located.
Most definitely, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions from staff? Seeing none? Mr. Gallant, do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Don, let's go to Exhibit 7 and just very briefly highlight what's contained on that exhibit.
It's the Southwest Hope Midale Reservoir Properties. Lithology, limestone, dolostone. Initial pressure, reservoir pressure 1,811 psi. Oil gravity 35 API. Gas oil ratio 782 standard cubic feet per barrel. Original oil in place 6,814,453 barrels. The average porosity 15%, net pay 15 feet, water saturation 45%, oil volume factor 1.1, reservoir temperature 110 degrees Fahrenheit, resistivity, formation water 0.063 ohm meters.
And Exhibit 8?
Exhibit 8 is the economics for the project. The estimated oil in place 6.8 million barrels. Primary recovery 10%. Completed well cost $1,625,000. Initial production 78 barrels a day. The EUR of 277,500 barrels for this well. The working interest 63.6%. Royalties and override 16.75. Oil price $70 a barrel. Net sales 12,351,900. Production and extraction tax of 1,028,300. Operating costs of 2,948,800. Net income 6,179,000. Net investment 1,038,500. And a return on investment of 44%.
Don, in your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
No further questions. Offer the exhibits and request that the record remain open until May 2nd. You know, we're going to be submitting some PDFs, and I think there was another request for, what was that, Rich?
For an exhibit that depicts where the 2D and 3D
Okay.
seismic
Yeah,
exists.
it's the seismic lines is what you're looking for.
Yeah,
So,
just where it exists.
yeah, thank you.
The exhibits are admitted, and the record will remain open until May 2nd.
Okay.
Are there any further questions from commission staff? Seeing none? Anything further, Mr. Bender?
Nothing further.
That will conclude the hearing for case number 29317. Case number 29318, application of Grayson Mill Operating LLC for an order authorizing the Lucy Hanson 1522 2H well, file number 36674, with an unisolated portion of the heel of the lateral located in the section 10 and in section 15, township 154 north, range 100 west, to be drilled, completed, and produced on a spacing unit described as sections 15 and 22, township 154 north, range 100 west, Williams County, ND, and to produce as an exception to the applicable field rules, permit conditions, or other well location restrictions, and such other and further relief. This case is dismissed. Case number 29213, a motion of the commission to consider the termination or any other appropriate action of the Bear Creek Duperow Unit, Dunn County, North Dakota, operated by XTO Energy, Inc. Would all interested parties please come forward?
Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, appearing in this matter, case 29213 on behalf of XTO Energy, Inc. The commission should be in receipt of a letter dated April 1, 2022. Attached to that letter is a certificate of termination for the Bear Creek Duperow unit, which was duly recorded with the Dunn County Recorder's Office. That information should allow the commission to enter an order in this matter.
Lawrence, can you tell us the effective date of termination?
It's supposed to be the same date as the federal government's termination. Let me see what the date is. September 1, 2020.
Okay, I was just kind of curious about that because we did receive a certified letter from the BLM on January 12th of this year indicating that date. It says terminated effective the date of the well creased production, September 1st, 2020. I think they mean ceased production, but
Okay.
are there any types of activity that needed to be done as far as plugging or reclamation on the site after that date? Because that's when the well ceased production,
Yeah,
so.
I don't know the answer to that question. I contacted XTO and actually prepared a draft with the date blank. And if you look at the exhibit that's attached, you'll see that it's been completed, handwritten. They wrote in the September 1, 2020, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any further questions from commission staff? Seeing none. Anything further in this matter, Mr. Bender?
Nothing further.
That will conclude the hearing for case number 29213. Case number 29319, application of Continental Resources, Inc. for an order pursuant to NDCC 380808.2, determining the reasonable actual cost for the drilling and operation of the following wells operated by Grayson Mills Operating LLC, all located in the Williams County, North Dakota, and for such other relief as the commission deems appropriate. The Jake 211-4H well, file number 23547, located in Lot 2 of Section 2, Township 153 North, Range 100 West. Jennifer 2635 1H well, file number 23033, located in the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter of Sections 23, Township 156 North, Range 100 West. The Marcia 310 1H well, file number 22454, located in Lot 1 of Section 3, Township 153 North, Range 100 West. And Larson 310 2H well, file number 20842, located in the northwest quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 15, Township 154 North, Range 100 West. This case is continued to May. And that will conclude the hearings on the docket for April 21st,